Her, The Modern-Day Pygmalion by Thomas Taft, Westfield High School. Uh, some background on Pygmalion. It was a play written in 1914 by George Bernard Shaw, set in London, England in the early 1900s. It was based on the Greek myth Pygmalion, in which a sculptor falls in love with his sculpture, and she is eventually turned into a real person, and they marry and have a child. Some themes from the play include feminism, appearance, and communication, and the play has inspired many adaptations, one of which we're going to be looking at today. And on the right, you can see a picture of Pygmalion, who is the man, in Galatea, the sculpture. And on the bottom, you can see George Bernard Shaw, the author of the play. A summary of the play: Eliza Doolittle is a poor flower girl, and she's taught how to behave like a lady by Higgins, who is a phoneticist, someone who teaches people how to speak properly or differently. And Higgins does this so that he can settle a bet with a fellow phoneticist, Colonel Pickering, and they want to see if Eliza can successfully attend an ambassador's garden party without being spotted as a commoner. And after she succeeds at this, she gets into an argument with Higgins and leaves his house to start a new life. And on the right, you can see a picture of the Leslie Howard version of Pygmalion. The spirit of Pygmalion. The spirit of Pygmalion revolves around communication. Eliza is told that the way she speaks will determine her fate. People also communicate non-verbally, such as when Eliza is given new clothes and experiences a bath for the first time. And a bit of irony in the play is that even those who make a living teaching communication can have trouble expressing emotions, such as Professor Higgins. An example of communication in the text is, you see this creature with her curbstone English, the English that will keep her in the gutter to the end of her days. And Higgins is remarking that in her current state, Eliza will never amount to anything because of the way she speaks, and it demonstrates that the way a person speaks can actually determine the course of one's life, and it shows how the way we communicate can shape the world and how we perceive it. And on the bottom, you can see a picture of Higgins and Eliza in their first scene, and on the bottom right, you can see an infographic showing how communication impacts our daily life. Another example of communication in the text is Pickering, if we listen to this man another minute, we shall have no convictions left. And this is saying that Higgins and Pickering are speaking to Eliza's father, and he's trying to convince them to give him money. And Higgins is saying that the rhetoric that used by people like Alfred Doolittle can often lead the most stubborn and most altruistic men astray. And it shows how the communication that Alfred Doolittle uses is communication used as a weapon, not as a tool. I chose to analyze a piece of literary criticism from the Shaw Journal, written by Richard Hornby, who analyzed the play by looking at how communication impacts the characters in the play. A quote is, like contemporary playwrights such as Ionesco and Pinter, who make human communication itself the subject as well as the vehicle for their plays, Shaw here employs language metalinguistically. The speeches in the play not only convey ideas to the audience, but they are also about speech itself. And Hornby is saying that Shaw employs language to convey ideas rather than to convey literal happenings going on in the play. And Shaw talks about speech in his plays, which are simultaneously literal and figurative, because such as when Higgins is teaching Eliza how to speak, while also telling Eliza how speech will impact her the rest of her life. And he layers these ideas so that the audience remains involved in the play. An example of communication in the literary criticism is contemporary dramatic theorists are becoming ever more aware that performance itself is a kind of language. And Hornby is explaining that Shaw is not unique in his ideas about communication, and Shaw had to communicate with other contemporaries of his in order to fully form his ideas and opinions. So Pygmalion borrows from popular ideas at the time, which shows how Shaw communicates both in his plays and in real life. And on the bottom, there's a picture of two people sharing ideas. Capturing Pygmalion's spirit. In my adaptation was Her, a 2013 movie directed by Spike Jonze, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson. And in the movie, a man falls in love with his operating system named Samantha, and the film follows their relationship and examines the ways that humans communicate and the way that they use technology and the way they love and experience life. A quote from communication is, sometimes I think I felt everything I'm ever going to feel, and from here on out, I'm not going to feel anything new, just lesser versions of what I've already felt. And Theodore has been unable to communicate this to anybody that he knows in the real world who, besides Samantha, who does not have a body. And this lack of a physical presence allows Theodore to feel as if he can open up to Samantha because she has no place in the real world. And on the bottom, there's a picture of the movie poster. Another example of communication is when Samantha says, "The heart's not like a box that gets filled up, it expands the more you love." And Samantha is trying to explain that while she is communicating with other people, she can also be communicating with Theodore at the same time without taking any attention away. And it shows the problems when one party cannot see the other party while they are communicating. And Theo is finding it hard to communicate with Samantha due to her lack of a physical form, which seemed a benefit in the beginning, but turned into a problem as they progress. Some film criticism of her from Variety is, "Technology has ushered us not into adulthood, but made infants of us, trapping and swaddling us in our high-tech cocoon." And this shows how the introduction of new technology, while meant to advance and unify us, actually isolates and infantilizes us. And it shows that communication is no longer done in person, but through technology. And the author is trying to say this creates a sense of impropriety when speaking face to face because of the way that we've been conditioned to speak only through devices such as phones or tablets. And this relates to the film because Theodore is communicating with Samantha through an earpiece, and no one else can hear her, just him. Another quote is, "Theo's workplace is a website called beautifulhandwrittenletters.com, where he sits in an office composing personal notes for those who can't be bothered." And this shows the negative effects of technology on communication because it shows that Theo is unable to communicate effectively unless he is not close to the person due to his line of work. And his workplace conditions him to be able to embark on the relationship with Samantha because he spends all day penning intimate letters for people he barely knows, which relates because Samantha is somebody he's never met, somebody he's never seen, who he'll never see, but yet he finds it easy for himself to go into a relationship with her. And these are my works cited, with the 4 main works cited in bold. And the end. Thank you for watching.